The Tom Fitzgerald Road to Redemption has officially started. Welcome back, Devils fans. It is your host, Ace, here on Running with the Devils, where we're talking everything and anything New Jersey Devils all year long. Please subscribe to the channel, smash that like button, check out the other videos on the channel. All Devils, all the time. Let's go. And the road to redemption for Tom Fitzgerald started off, in my opinion, with a very small depth move that a lot of you hated on because you just simply don't comprehend today's game. And that was quickly re-signing Enforcer and the Sheriff, signing Curtis McDermott to a multi-year deal in the offseason, ensuring the safety and protection of our very fragile and skilled offensive group. Beautiful move to kick off the offseason. A lot of you hated on it. Oh, he's overpaying in the 3 years, da-da-da. It was pennies. That is small change in the grand scheme of the NHL and the salary cap. And if you have guys getting broken every night, what good is jackhughes and Nico Hischier when they're in the press box not playing due to injury? Not going to happen anymore. The Sheriff is here. He will come for you. He will break your skull. And you absolutely love to see a guy like Curtis McDermott get his money. And while he won't be an every game player, he will be in certainly many division rivalry games. And we're going to maybe see 3 or 4 fights between him and Matt Rempe next year. I am stoked for it. Yes, I'm a vigilante. Yes, I'm one of those hockey fight lovers. And I'm old school, baby. And I'm old school. And a lot of you are too. Sorry to the finesse analytics crowd. I'm old school through and through for life. Fitzy starts it off with McDermott. And then, in what was somewhat of a surprise, lands probably the second most coveted coach on the open market, signing Sheldon Keefe to a multi-year deal to be the bench boss for this New Jersey Devils club. Of all the names rumored at the time, my number one target personally was Craig Berube, but I do think his over-the-top style may have been a little too much for this fragile Devils group. I thought we needed a disciplinarian, crack the whip a little bit, kick some ass. May have been too much for the Devils. Maybe Fitzy thought Berube would just ruin some of these guys, and so he goes and gets what I believe was the second best option, Sheldon Keefe. Sheldon Keefe had his fair share of winning seasons in Toronto in the regular season, and obviously, as we all know, with that core four they had, the playoffs has just been a pain point for them, never getting over the hump, winning one playoff round. And, you know, it sucks to be a Leafs fan. What could I say? I do think that franchise is cursed, and I don't think they're ever going to win anything until they make some significant moves after they break up that core. But Sheldon is here. I believe he's going to be a great influence on these young kids, develop them further along, and hopefully bring us to the promised land and hoist a Stanley Cup. Loved the Keefe move. Loved it at the time. And that was Fitz's just starting off now with the big moves. We got the little one out of the way. Our guys are protected. The Matt Rempe pest control. And then we go and get Sheldon Keefe as our coach. Things are off and running, and now a little period of stagnation. And finally, the goaltender is brought in, Jacob Markstrom. Lots of you still crying in your pillows over there, and it's okay. Oh, he's 34 years old, and he's so... Oh. You guys are just a lost crowd. You can't please everybody, and some of you guys won't cheer anything. I'm as realistic and pessimistic as they come. I've criticized Fitzgerald all season long, and for those of you that have been here, you've seen it all season long. But I'm not going to just bash the guy for no reason. When he does something of merit, I will certainly be here to say that I think he did a good job. Jacob Markstrom coming here for way less than what everyone thought it was going to take to get him here. And how are you going to get mad about giving up Kevin Ball and a late first-round pick in next year's draft? Guys, these pieces aren't helping us win a cup. Some of you sit here and analyze the team as if, you know, jackhughes, Nico, the core guys are going to be 26, 27 for eternity. At some point, you have to activate the win-now switch. And guess what, my friends? Fitzy did just that yesterday. He smashed that motherfucker. Win now. Jacob Markstrom, he's not looking to have a competitive team in 27 and 28. No. He's feeling the heat, and I like it. Fitzgerald feels that his job is on the line, and he's maneuvering accordingly. And those are win-now moves, baby. Win-now moves. Hate him or love him, Lou Lamoriello was trying to win the cup every single season, whether it was off-season moves, late-season additions, and in 2000 we saw some early move to bring in Claude Lemieux very early on into the season, sending Brian Ralston to the Avalanche. This is a guy looking to win every single year, and it looks like Tom Fitzgerald has finally seen the light. And while I'm not going to bow down to him for what he's done so far, he is on the road to redemption with lots of work to do. Now, if in some bizarre world he doesn't do much else and it says, oh, we tried, then I'll be right back on here, kicking his back in till the end of time. I have faith. I don't think it's going to happen. I think he is going to make the moves. There's tons of guys available in free agency. Costs us nothing more than money to sign him up, and I think he's going to do it. I really think he's going to do it. Kevin Ball being shipped out obviously opens up an immediate roster spot for a defenseman. There is millions of defensemen I love in free agency. We've talked about this at length, and I think he's well on his way to redemption. He has a lot to do to get all the points he lost back in my book, but we're off to a good start. The big game hunt has finally brought home its first trophy, Jacob Markstrom, and now we start moving from the net out. Defense next up on the menu. No shortage of guys in free agency. No shortages of guys in free agency. We still have the number 10 pick. Lots of people were crying, oh, we're going to trade the number 10 pick for Markstrom. I never wanted to do that straight up, but the reality is, with retention and maybe their late first-round pick in this year's draft coming the other way, I was willing to part with it if need be. He preserved the number 10 pick. We stole Markstrom. It was an absolute steal. If you don't see that, I'm sorry, you're lost. You don't know shit. Go look up some of the Markstrom highlight videos and take a breath. Because Jacob Markstrom is the guy for the next 2 years, positioning us to make some real runs. And now Fitz has to do the rest of what he's got to do. But regarding that number 10 pick that we still have, you all know I have zero interest in drafting with it personally. I'm in super win now mode, and I'm looking for immediate help. And a lot of people have been throwing out ideas, oh, should you try to trade the 10 for this guy or that guy? The reality is, I personally am not interested in drafting with that at all. And furthermore, I would not trade it for a defenseman. There are just way too many defensemen in free agency that will cost us no assets. And so I say there's plenty of defensemen to be had for just the taking. In July, free agency day, July 1, we'll get some guys. We don't need to waste a number 10 pick to bring in a defenseman. No need for it. What I am interested in dealing that pick for is a top 6 monster. Top 6 monster, I would entertain trading the number 10 pick. And then obviously, there's other caveats and things to the deal, whether it's prospects, other picks, other players. It could be involved in a package ranging from, something smaller to a large deal. But I'm certainly marketing that number 10 pick and looking to bring in another top 6 player who's a win now piece. And we'll get to some of those names in a minute. Some of you know what's coming. And then another train of thought I had with the number 10 pick is that, and a lot of people would hate on this too, but this would be smart in my opinion, is to maybe say, okay, what can we do with this number 10 pick to maybe give us some options down the road? And I thought about this, and one of the things that came to mind was, well, some teams would probably be looking to move up in the draft, right? Teams are always looking to move up to grab a guy they're looking at. Or looking to dump someone off near the draft as well. So what I mean by that is, if you're the Devils, you have this number 10 pick, is it possible that you entertain a deal for maybe a roster player that helps us, maybe a bottom 6 guy, a third-line center, something to maybe replace McLeod's production and face-off prowess? A lot of you have been talking about McLeod. You all know I've loved McLeod all year. He was becoming one of my favorite players. We had an unfortunate incident. He's been banished. We'll likely never see him in the NHL again. He certainly will never play for the Devils again. And it's a really unfortunate situation, the way that all played out. But McLeod's gone, and so that needs to be replaced somehow, some way. If with that number 10 pick, I might consider, and hear me out here, trading for maybe a bottom 6 forward and a team's, or maybe even a top 9 forward, whatever it is, but a roster piece that can help us now, and maybe another team's 2025 first-round pick. Essentially the pick we just gave away for Markstrom. And the thinking behind that is, again, I personally have no interest in draft picks for the foreseeable future, honestly. If we're in win now mode, keep cashing them in. Let's go. Do or die. Cup chase, win the cup or not. I'm not playing NHL GM mode here for 10 years from now. I'm playing for the now. And so with an option like that, you give up the number 10 hypothetically, grab a roster player and a 2025 first-round pick, the one that we just lost in the Markstrom deal, and now that gives us a lot of possibilities heading down the stretch of next season because, as everyone knows, lots of rental players get sold off to cup contenders looking to add a piece to maybe push them over the hump, whether it's a defenseman or a forward. You see it every year. The Oilers did it this year with Henrique. Carolina added Gensel. And so teams are selling off at the deadline that aren't in contention. I fully expect the Devils to be in contention, and having a 2025 first-round pick in the chamber ready to trade off at the deadline to bring in a piece to really maybe push us over the top to get to that cup would be a nice luxury to have. And so I don't know if Fitz is going to look to somehow regain a 2025 first-rounder for this exact scenario, but it would be a stroke of brilliance because with these other moves I anticipate him making throughout the rest of this offseason, I think we're going to be locked and loaded next year. I really do. I don't think it's delusional fan bias. I think the Devils are going to be a force to be reckoned with next season, and replacing that 2025 first-round pick that we just lost would be a nice thing to do. Like I said, we're coming down the stretch. Maybe there's an injury. Maybe someone's underperforming, and we're looking for that last piece to push us over the top for the cup. It's a valuable piece to have, and a lot of teams will be looking for a first-rounder when they're selling guys off. So that's another not-so-sexy way we could play the number 10 pick, and I wouldn't be mad at it, especially if we got a roster player now that could help us in the package. And I think Tom Fitzgerald will be exploring every opportunity out there, and I think that's a fairly decent one that could happen because it makes perfect sense. Help us right now, and then we keep that pick locked and loaded for a potential trade. And when we get to some of the guys now, I'm just going to start living in fantasy land. You know, I'm a dreamer. I'm a dreamer. I'm a dreamer. I'm a dreamer, guys. And what I'm dreaming about is big names. You tell me you're going big game hunting, I will fantasize about big game. News broke in Columbus last week. Patriklaine and the Jackets are headed for divorce. We've talked about this on the channel already as well. I am certainly interested. I am kicking the tires. I am finding out just how cheap we could get this man as a reclamation project. Obviously, a little bit of a head case, things going on, injury riddled, lots of stuff. To me, this could represent, at the right price, another high-risk, high-reward type maneuver. I expect a lot of teams to be kicking the tires on Laine, and I believe a lot of teams are going to try to rob him. You know, if they're going to push him out, it's all public knowledge now, so obviously his value is not going up. And I think he could be had for pennies on the dollar. Patriklaine on a wing with Jackhughes is an absolute snipe show. I think he could revitalize his career here and hopefully hoist a Stanley Cup in a New Jersey Devils jersey. Patriklaine, would love to see it at the right price, of course. And then I move on to just another kind of name I've been floating out there. If Stammer becomes a free agent on July 1, Fitzgerald needs to put on the presentation of a lifetime. I feel like this man has been played by the Tampa Bay Lightning. He's been the face of their franchise for years and years. Played his whole career there. But sometimes you can't have the storybook ending. Sometimes you got to go to another franchise. We've seen it in pro sports. Michael Jordan played for the Wizards. The great Martin Brodeur played for the St. Louis Blues. Tom Brady was a Buccaneer. And so maybe Stamkos becomes the latest legend to switch jerseys. And that would, winning a cup in New Jersey at his advanced age for Steven Stamkos would really be a feather in the cap of an illustrious Hall of Fame first ballot career. Love Stammer. At the right price, I would love him. And if he makes it, we only got 10, 11 days left. If he makes it to free agency, he is going to feel like a woman scorned, and he's going to look to move on from the Tampa Bay Lightning. And I think they've been playing games. If I was a Lightning fan, I wouldn't like this to have been played out the way it has been. It's taken way too long. Stammer probably feels some kind of way. And we got to put our best pitch for him because now as Fitz keeps stacking the deck here for us, the New Jersey Devils should become a more and more lucrative opportunity for players to come here and win a cup. And hopefully Stammer sees the vision. Hopefully he sees the vision and we could lure him here. Love to see it. We'll keep an eye on the Stamkos watch as it plays out. And now I'm going to get to the white whale, guys. You all know who it is. Hashtag bring Brady to NJ. Brady Tkachuk is the unicorn, the absolute one-man wrecking crew, the force that could change it all. Yes, guys, I am super high on Brady Tkachuk. I would give far more than some of you would ever imagine to land him because getting Brady Tkachuk on this roster is just the ultimate stamp on a franchise. The Tkachuk brothers are organization turnaround type guys. Look what Matthew Tkachuk has done in Florida. My God, first year as a Panther to the Cup Finals. They get right back there this year, and now, they're in one right now. But again, back-to-back finals appearances at a minimum for Matthew Tkachuk, and maybe he gets his cup. Game 6 is going to be a wild one in Edmonton. I'll be watching that for sure. But the Tkachuk brothers are throwbacks like their old man, Keith Tkachuk, former NHL legend, and they don't make players like this. I believe a guy like Brady does a little bit of everything, and a lot of you will point to his stats and be like, oh, he only scores 70 or 80 points. Like, come on, guys. There's more than analytics, more beyond the charts. Watch the games. This guy set an NHL record with 16 hits against our beloved New Jersey Devils a few months back. 16 hits in one game. That's more hits than the entire Devils roster threw in many games throughout the season. And so I do believe Brady Tkachuk is that dude. I would pay through the nose for him. Bring him here is... it would be a dream come true. A lot of you have jumped on the bandwagon over the last few months. A lot of people are talking about it. Senators fans are crying. Steve Stamkos is denying it. And again, I put zero stock into that. GMs are possibly the biggest liars on the planet. Only slightly more credible than used car salesmen and lawyers. These guys lie through their teeth constantly, and I'm not putting stock into it. And the fact that we still have the number 10 pick in our possession as of right now gives me hope, because that number 10 pick would be a big piece of a package for Brady Tkachuk. I'm not going to go into the weeds too much on, what I think it would take to get Brady Tkachuk, but to me it starts at, the number 10 pick, Seamus Casey plus, and whether that's a combination of Holtz, Mercer, Shimo Nemitz. And shame on you guys, by the way. I love Shimo Nemitz. Absolutely love the kid. Recently, I've seen people who said they wouldn't trade Nemitz for Brady Tkachuk straight up. That is beyond lunacy. Beyond lunacy. When you could bring in a proven commodity like Brady Tkachuk, Nemitz is going to be a great player. I really believe that. But in the end, he's still a young kid, and there's a chance that he doesn't become the guy that we all are hoping for. And there's a chance that he is, but either way, it's okay. Brady Tkachuk immediately pushes us closer to a cup than Shimo Nemitz does. And in a vacuum, if you don't take that deal 1-for-1, you are psychotic. The Senators would never take it. So all of you guys that don't want to trade Nemitz and we can never trade Nemitz for anything. You're so emotionally attached after 1 year to this kid. Don't worry. Ottawa would never do that deal. I promise you. I promise you. The fact that as a Devils fan you wouldn't do it, truly, truly mind-boggling. Boggles the mind. But Brady Tkachuk remains the biggest white whale out there for me. And if Fitzy did that, he would be real close to even in my book. Real close. Brady Tkachuk, big outside chance. Don't expect it to happen. I do think Ottawa misses the playoffs next season, and he begs to get out of there, and the Devils will be one of the most sexy locations for him to land. We went through all the ties to the organization and the state of New Jersey in a previous video. You can check that out on the channel if you haven't seen it. But free agency is a smorgasbord. There's guys everywhere. Defense, forwards. You want to buy grit, you buy the grit. And I think Fitz is going to do it. On the road to redemption, we're just getting started. We are just getting started. We still have a week plus a day or so leading up to the draft. Hopefully he does something crazy with that number 10 pick. I will still hold out a sliver of hope for Brady Tkachuk. And if somehow we ever get Brady Tkachuk, all the naysayers and the haters that said it was so delusional, they better go into hiding, because I am coming for throats, and I am coming for them quick. Coming for them quick. But, I'm not crowning Fitz yet. He's got a lot of work left still to do. So far, so good. And like I've said before, I'm going to keep believing in him until he gives me a reason not to. Last season was terrible. I'll never forget it. I'll never forgive him for it. But he could get close to my good graces with the summer he needs to have. And there's a lot of defense and forwards in free agency. Spend that money, baby. Spend that money. Round this roster out. If you are not excited about the Markstrom deal, then you're just an idiot. I'm sorry, guys. Get excited. We have a new coach. Check. We have a goalie finally. Check. And while he's not the solution for the future, it doesn't matter. You don't need to solve the future's problems today every time. 2-year window, add the pieces, cup chasing. We're not looking down the road 10 years, in this crystal ball, and we're building the cupboard. The bullshit's over. The bullshit's over. Win now, starts now, and we're on the road. We're on the road. The Fitzgerald Road to Redemption Tour has kicked off, and I'm excited, and I'll be here with you guys the rest of the way. Lastly, I mentioned in a previous video, if you haven't seen it, I'm starting the Running with the Devils book club. Book number 1, the Martin Brodeur autobiography, Beyond the Crease. Brodeur, Beyond the Crease. Great read. It came out forever ago. I read it back then. I'm going to take a dive back into it as an older gentleman now. I'll be doing like chapter review videos or whatever. I'll deep dive into some of the stuff and expand on some of what he said. So if you're interested in that, great look into the mind of the great Martin Brodeur. A lot of behind-the-scenes stuff and things that people don't really talk about or remember anymore. Get a copy of the book. It's on Amazon. It's on everywhere online. It's super cheap. There's hardcover, softcover, whatever your preference. I'll probably kick that off in a couple weeks. Very excited for that. Coming back with more stuff. I got a lot of stuff in the chamber. Joe Stalja is going to make an appearance on the channel very soon. Woo! Woo! The road to redemption is on. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that jazz. Until next time, friends, let's go Devils.